Hey, and welcome to the Dominate Health podcast. We're so honored and blessed today. We have Dr. Alessandra Colón. Welcome, Dr. Colón.
Hi.
She, of course, is a true celebrity, not just as a rock star chiropractor, but because she's on TV, has an incredible TV show called Crack Addicts on TLC. I'm sure millions are watching, but even if you just go online and check it out, there are millions and millions of views. So it's really doing everything I'm sure, Dr. Colón, you intended it to do when you were invited to be on the show. And I do want to start off with this. I really do feel like you were literally, in my 30-year history in chiropractic, you were the perfect person to have chosen. For those of you that haven't watched or haven't listened to Dr. Colón before, you had your own healing journey. You saw your own miraculous experience with chiropractic and how that transformed your life and continued you on that healing journey. There was cynicism, when you decided to be a chiropractor. You're well educated. You are a true celebrity in every sense of the word. You are an absolute movie star. You have the personality for it.
Thank you.
But the other thing too, that you pick up is, because I've listened to some of your other interviews, I've watched all the shows. You actually care. You love your patients. You're compassionate, for their issues, but also accountable. I was watching where you were saying, you follow up with the people, like they bring in some of these really serious cases and you care enough to follow up and see how they're doing. So I really think they picked the perfect person. Tell us a little bit about your background and why you think you were prepared for such a time as this to lead chiropractic and teach the masses.
I don't know if I was really prepared. I'll be truly honest. I'm actually a Puerto Rican. I say that because I like to just throw that out there. I'm 100% Puerto Rican. Both my parents are. I grew up, believe it or not, I was born in California, but I grew up in Saudi Arabia. So I think that kind of initiated the chameleon in me, the ability to be multicultural, multifaceted in how I grew up, how I understood people, likeness. And I was always a new girl in school. My dad was in oil. So I always really had to just dig deep to be happy, make sure I was always inviting. And it did come natural to some degree. I will totally admit that. But it was a natural progression of my life. My dad would say it best. I'm a combination of someone I've always been.
Yeah, you are. I love that because you are yourself. I think that's what makes you such an attractive force to patients and obviously now the world. The other thing I'd say is as perfect as possible, because our profession, as everyone knows, is very fragmented. And there's a lot of different techniques, a lot of different beliefs and opinions. Yet you've probably gotten as close to the ideal state on the show and in your clinic as you possibly could have. I mean, it can't be perfect because you're not going to make everybody even remotely happy in our profession. But the fact that it's evidence-based, you're well-educated, there's science, there's philosophy, you get into the principles, you're talking about x-rays. You always come back to it that it's the nervous system that controls all function and healing, and that we're doctors of the nervous system, which, hallelujah, that's so great that you're getting that message out there. but that, we're not doctors of pain or whatever. But then in parallel too, while still honoring the core chiropractic message, there's nutrition, there's the rehabilitation, there's therapy, there's extremities. So, there's really something for everybody. How did you figure out, just in your own practice and for the show, how'd you figure out how to come up with something so great as a delivery model for both the patients, but also TV?
I think the only way to really describe that is my own health journey, right? And the only way to really get into that is kind of to get to know a little bit who I was. I have always been kind of a sporty little spunky little thing, but I had stage 4 cancer. And I didn't really, my mom in the middle of chemo had this amazing foresight to put me into yoga. I was 14 years old, I had stage 4 cancer. I had a 25% chance to live. And my mom had this foresight to put me into yoga and meditation. And that was the first time I'd ever really experienced any kind of, mental sanctuary, a place for me to grow and deal with my traumas as I was going through radiation, going through the treatments. On top of that, I didn't really grow up in the best of a home. I grew up a very difficult life, and that brought me a lot of other wisdoms and traumas mentally. but I think those hardships, right, are the things that you grow from. So it was an evolving thing that started out mentally that became physical because of my illness. And then I had all these complications from cancer. I had uh, gut issues, concentration issues. I was in depression, not even realizing I was in depression. So there was just this multifaceted part of me that didn't realize that I was already embodying a need for nutrition, a need for exercise, a need for wellness. And it's kind of like a natural journey that got me here.
Wow. Yeah, you're in the I have a psychology background too, and we talk about resilience and not just bouncing back, but bouncing beyond. And you're that true image of resilience where some people are crushed by it. You've gone on to make a career out of it and impact the planet based on the path
Yes.
you've been through. That's really
Well,
incredible.
when faced with fear, you have two options. You either, overcome it or don't. And, fear was very real for me. It was life or death. And the truth is, I guess in some sense, I've always been spirited enough that I never actually believed I was going to die. That
Mm.
sounds really morbid to say that, but I just tackled chemo and radiation like I would anything else with a smile. It's the
Wow.
truth.
Unbelievable. And you said something, there's a quote that's so amazing, maybe one of the best quotes for chiropractic and its relationship to medicine and its place in society. I heard you say, where medicine is, you're only 14 when this happens. So everybody has to realize, imagine I have a young daughter. To think of your young daughter, that, you're precious, there's this saying, you kill for your wife, but you die for your daughter. She has me wrapped around her finger 72 times. And so to think of her with cancer fighting for her life at 14 is just breaks my heart in a million pieces just thinking about it. So God bless you for, what you've been through
Thank
and what
you.
your family's been through. It's just incredible that you came out of it to be the superstar of today and helping so many people. But to get back to your quote, you had said medicine at the age of 14 saved your life, but chiropractic continues to save your life. Talk about that, because that's really very powerful.
Yeah. Listen, I never saw myself as a doctor, and I think it's important to know that. And in fact, my brother is like the ultra genius one. I'm the one who studies and does great and makes A's, right? And in fact, I grew up on pageants and stages, and my mom kind of labeled me as the singer, the pianist, the artist, the creative type. So cancer was really the first time that I was like, oh, like maybe I want to be in the medical route, but I wasn't sure. My mom was also a microbiologist, so I spent a lot of time in the laboratories with her because she was a single mom, struggling. So I was somewhat inundated in it. But I love theater arts and I love making people smile. So it really wasn't until I would say college. I was applying for my pre-meds. I had done my MCATs. I was ready to go down this, pathway of, healing people. And I watched a movie called Patch Adams. I don't know if you've ever seen this movie.
Oh, great movie.
And he's this genius MD who realized that quality of life was also promoted by happiness, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, like if I'm going to be a doctor, like that's the doctor I'm going to be. So you're telling me I can make people smile like I'm on stage and be a doctor? This is like the road for me. But again, I still wasn't happy. And I had mentioned it to a friend about my complications, my gut, my immune system, the depression. I was seeing a psychiatrist at the time, Adderall, Concertos, you name it, um, all the medications. And he looks at me and he goes, why don't you go see a chiropractor? And I was like, what's a chiropractor? Who sees a chiropractor? Why? What do you? My mom would kill me. Like a doctor is the only way to be,
Yeah.
an MD for that. And so I was like, you know what? I got nothing to lose. Let me go see this chiropractor. So I visited a chiropractor. Long story short, in Margate, New Jersey. Um, he was actually the chiropractor, I believe, for the Philadelphia Eagles at one point. So what a start to chiropractic. And it was the first time in my life anybody has ever taught me about the chiropractic triad. And I was just like amazed that your body heals itself. What? Like, what is this guy talking about? Are we like, are you serious? And to watch patient after patient go into his office and be, healed from within was just like, okay, like I'm in. Whatever this is, I'm in. I signed up for Palmer College and I never looked back. Swear.
Wow, that's incredible. Yeah, and I love that because you have that cynicism for the past, and that really helps as you address patients in the community and help other chiropractors to have come from parents saying, my first reaction when I said I was going to be a chiropractor is, why do you want to be a witch doctor? So I get that. So
Well, my
I've been at the,
culture too, right? Like I'm Latin. I know it sounds really bad,
yeah.
and I probably shouldn't say this, but I'm going to say it. It's like when you're born, you're like, you're an engineer, you're a doctor, because you got to get out of the ghetto. It's like this automatic like thing. So, it was, well, that's for your path.
That's amazing. Yeah, and that again, that's so helpful. More of what you've had to encounter and endure to just be even a greater leader for all of us moving forward. Now, I've been around chiropractic block a little longer than you. I've made a few trips more around the sun than you have. You have a brand new baby, brand new show, brand new practice. That's you got a lot on your plate right now.
I do. But it's okay. I'll
Yeah.
get through it slowly but surely.
So what I was leading into is the early chiropractors didn't do it because it was a good living or because they couldn't get into med school or anything like that. They did it because they were very sick and they overcome a condition, a serious illness or problem by a chiropractor. So where medicine could only take them so far, couldn't help them at all, their lives were saved. They experienced a chiropractic miracle. And that was the only way to sort of overcome the cynicism and end up in chiropractic school. But over the years, chiropractic's kind of gotten a little watered down, becomes more about neck pain and back aches and overcoming a personal injury or something. But you're attracting really serious cases. Like that's, if you haven't seen the show, it's like one really serious case after another. Tell us a little bit about that, because that, once again, is such a powerful message for the world through your show and everything you're doing.
I think that was kind of what was so awesome. Actually, I'll tell you this, and I actually have not talked about this. So I think it's actually kind of cool to know. First time hearing this.
Yes.
There was a
Hot take.
pilot, right? And the network didn't know if they wanted to do a chiropractic show. They wanted to run it by the producers. And I'm telling you this because they've come to do the pilot. So we had a 4-day series running a pilot. They go back, shoot the segment, and months and months and months go by. But what was so cool is when they came from LA to do the pilot, you could tell, and I mean this in the kindest way, that they had no idea what
Yeah.
chiropractic was. They came in with the exact same train of thought you just said, that we are all watered down, neck, backs, and all of a sudden they get a pediatric case. They get muscular dystrophy. All of a sudden, quadriplegic. All of a sudden they're like,
Yeah.
whoa, 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 whoa. And then they meet me and my staff and our energy, and they're like, hold on, we got something way bigger than this. So they came in thinking it was this strategic way that they were going to film and cut everything. And it ended up being like a free for all of, we have so much amazing information that we need to get to the masses, that we need to go back and completely revamp our ideas. We're in the back of behind the scenes, like, no, do this, don't do that. It was really crazy because it was such a learning curve. And I thought that was so beautifully interesting, that even the producers and even all the back end of production was just like, holy cow, chiropractic's awesome. Like, we've never seen anything like it. They're like, you do babies? Why would you do a baby? It was really neat. It was really neat watching them evolve with me. So I think the show actually they really did a good job of trying to capture that. And it's really hard to do because there's hours and hours and hours of filming. And how do you possibly capture everything that chiropractic is?
And
you know?
and you're influencing Hollywood. These are big producers. These are people that reach the world, and they're now learning about chiropractic for newborns and toddlers and children and advanced disease. Even when it's subtle, but to me, it was powerful just from my perspective and very entertaining. So the lady who came in with excessive farting that you that you saw, and what's great is you pulled up the X-ray and you described by X-ray and through science and evidence how this subluxation, this misalignment of the spine would create farting. And it's funny and entertaining, but it's very powerful in terms of explaining chiropractic.
Yes, we had to reel it back. We had to look at nerve interference. And I'm not saying that it's for everyone or that it cures, cancers, but there's no doubt that we all know by way of science that decreased nerve interference and inflammation allows us to function at a more optimal level. We all know that. But getting that on a national scale and allowing masses to understand that is just such an incredible thing. So for me, it was never about myself. In fact, it was so difficult to do. I had so many, oh my God, I had so many doubts, so many questions. I broke down like, days before about to start filming, like, what am I thinking? But I had to firmly believe that we did the right thing in getting the message across. And I have to just lead with that. And I have to jump into my faith and just let go.
And you come back to that message again. Once there was a question on Jeopardy that said, what does a chiropractor do? And of course, you were so fearful of what the actual, the question, which is the answer, was going to be. And that it actually said doctors of the nervous system. And, it was just relief, came out of my body. I felt my soul come back into my system just because thank God they got the right message out there. And that's the message you preach over and over again.
Absolutely. I just do it. I like to think I do it a little bit more special.
Yes, you do. Much better
I'm
than Jeopardy.
terrible.
I can't sit through much
I
Jeopardy.
like to do it more
Uh,
special.
and by the
I'm
way,
terrible.
if you're a new chiropractor or anybody watching, it's not a party to one of your patients farts on you. So that was also an important moment.
You got to get through it. I mean, I think I'm just really good at keeping it real. And that allows for a lot of trust between me and my patient. And I think that's also a really beautiful thing, even as
Yeah,
funny as it is.
and trust of the world at this point too. You're gaining the world's trust. So I want to honor your time, but I got two last things I'm
No,
hoping to
go
get out
for
of you
it.
today. So our show is called Dominate Healthcare, and the reason we call it that is with all that's happening, and we won't get into it, but with everything happening with the message that's coming across the media in terms of health right now, we can't just participate. Our message has to dominate. And so, what's your vision for the show? And what are you trying to do to help the world right now?
Uh, I love that you just asked this question actually, because I have to continue to remind myself with the message that I'm delivering to, believe it or not. And it's been a really humbling experience. It's just, honestly, it's surreal. My life has taken off in so many ways. I wouldn't even know how to describe it, but it's forced me to recreate my vision and how I view chiropractic and how I view myself and the message that I'm sending. And with thousands of people on the wait list, all I can do is keep thinking in the back of my mind, how do I get chiropractic to the masses? How do I help heal people? How do I continue to lead with light and love on a grand scale? And I have to believe that if I continue with good intention, with kindness, maybe some laughs, along the way, that everything will fall into its place. But I think it's also really important to note two things. One, I think that we can all agree that the past several years has put a bad taste in each other's in people's mouths. And regardless of what spectrum you're on, a political party, whatever it might be. But that being said, we are in a time and era now where people want electric cars and organic food and wellness. And they're realizing the issues in the pandemic of being over medicated and eating processed goods. And people are starting to come to this like aha fruition, like, oh my gosh, I got to start treating myself better. So if you ask me, when it comes to chiropractic, we're just getting started. The future of medicine is integrative medicine. And I believe in that from like the depths of who I am. But the other part of what I think makes me special and what I'm doing with the show, and that's the second part of what I say, is that you have to understand that I am a person who deeply believes in energy and human connection. You vibrate low, you receive low. You vibrate high, you receive high. And I say this because as chiropractors, and this is why I'm adding this to that, and I know it's a kind of long story, but we are one of the only doctors who get to physically touch patients 3 times a week, twice a week, once a week. When I approach that table with these hands, everything that runs through me runs through my body, runs into my patient. And I harness that. And it's so incredibly amazing to see how you connect with someone when they trust you, when love is truly achieved. I've brought patients to tears. You can feel their anxiety leave their body. You can see their mind redirect. It's almost as if you can visually see the pain leave them. And that's why I love being a chiropractor. And I think that in this show, it showcased that. And I think it showcased it not only on a national scale, but what I've been doing for my 10 years of practice. And I'm in love. I'm in love with what I do. I really am.
Wow. That's amazing. And just again, want to thank you. Are healing the world with us through chiropractic, but also like Patch Adams, you are transforming our minds and our hearts with smiling. So we really appreciate you for that. So how do we support you? So going forward here, our chiropractic community needs to come behind you, support you. How do we watch the show? How do we support Dr. Colón? What can we do for you?
Well, we all need to manifest it. I'm a true believer of manifestation. I act in abundance and from my highest self at all times. So I want you guys all to manifest with me. The best thing that we can also do is continue to collaborate within the community projects, podcasts like we're doing now, interviews, social media platforms. Get people to watch the show. Talk to people about it. Tell your friends, tell your patients, put on your waiting room. I don't know. Get creative with it. It's also effective to follow me on Instagram, TikTok, social media, but more importantly, to make sure you like all the chiropractic content within the social media platforms that I'm sharing and get it out to the masses. That we just keep talking the talk, keep sharing it, keep liking, and keep loving.
Awesome. Yeah, I like you on all the social media platforms. Forward it. It's a lot of fun to participate. So thank you so much. Godspeed. We will do everything we can to get behind you. For everybody watching, you have to participate. Not participate. You've got to dominate. We've got to take over. Bless you, everyone, and remember who you are.